Live from my studios in Tacoma, Washington, I'm not only a proud member of the World Powers and a three-time UIWA North American Heavyweight Champion, also in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Magazine's Top 500, I'm the Beast from the Middle East, the Yemeni Maniac, the modern-day Sheikh, Diafullah, the Butcher, Dobashi, and your host of...
Dobashi's Talk Show.
No, Dobashi's Radio Takedown. I love beating my opponents for my own and your entertainment, but now I'm entertaining you right here with special guests and talks on all combative sports and entertainment. After all, you do watch sports to get entertained, don't you? This is a soapbox for the people to speak on anything. If you need to settle a problem, you can do it right here, censored free. Let's ring the bell to start the show.
Friday, March 27, 2015, episode 36. I'm your host, Diafullah Dobashi. I am glad to be back. I took some time off. I had a double inner ear infection, but I'm here now. I have a great guest on this podcast, attorney Konstantine Kyros. He has multiple lawsuits he's filing against the WWE, and he wanted to come on this podcast to educate you listeners on why he is doing this. If there's any of you brothers and sisters out there who thinks they have royalties owed to them, or they want to be on this WWE class action lawsuit, or just for a consultation, you could email me at radiotakedown@gmail.com. Just email your information at radiotakedown@gmail.com, and I will pass it on to Mr. Kyros. Okay, I will stop flapping my gums. I will be right back after the commercial break with the interview with Konstantine Kyros. But first, the outcomes may be predetermined. The moves, the injuries, the risks we all take are absolutely real. Recently, there has been a death in the pro wrestling ring. My condolences go out to all the friends and family of Paraguayo Jr. Paraguayo Jr., may you rest in peace.
Did you know you could support this podcast by going to radiotakedown.com and click on the Amazon link? It's easy to do. See, when you go to our website, radiotakedown.com, and go to the Amazon link and buy your stuff, this podcast gets a kickback, and it will help keep this podcast free to you listeners. The best thing about it, it doesn't cost you any more money to do it. So please, go to radiotakedown.com, hit the Amazon link to buy your stuff. There's even an Amazon Canada and an Amazon UK. Thank you for all your support, and that's radiotakedown.com. To be a lion, you must train with lions. Go see Professor Michael Proctor at the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy of Tacoma. For more information, go to 253bjj.com or call 253-426-8197.
We are back. I'm your host, Diafullah Dobashi of Dobashi's Radio Takedown, and let me introduce my very special guest, Konstantine Kyros. He is an experienced lawyer with almost 20 years in the legal practice based in Boston, Massachusetts, who handles cases nationwide. He has been involved in many high-profile lawsuits, including cases involving NFL football players, people injured and killed by large drug companies, and long history of dealing with workers injured by asbestos, chemicals, and dangerous working conditions. He is now representing former WWE, WWF wrestlers, and he is here today to discuss and educate our listeners, you, each and every one of you, about the lawsuits being brought against the WWE. Welcome to the show, Mr. Kyros.
Well, thank you, Dobashi, for having me on the show, and I'd be happy to answer some questions you and your listeners have about the pending litigation against the WWE. I just want to say I have to be a little careful to keep my answers from impacting my existing clients in their individual cases, but I will be as forthright as I can, subject to that limit. So I'm happy to answer questions and so forth. But I think wrestlers in the community need to understand the claims and the nature of the cases so they can make an educated decision, about whether to support these cases and the goal of these lawsuits.
Awesome. Well, great. Okay, well, let's get ready and educate the people out there. And, Mr. Kyros, tell me a little bit about the basis of bringing these lawsuits against the WWE, and what do you hope to achieve?
Well, Dobashi, first of all, I'd like to point out that the cases could not be brought unless wrestlers themselves feel that the WWE has done them harm, either through negligence or bad conduct. So when I bring a claim, it's on behalf of a wrestler who feels that they've been treated unjustly by the WWE. One way to sort of characterize and understand the basis of the lawsuits is to say that the lawsuits are a type of occupational injury that wrestlers have received while they were performing and making the WWE money. These are not ordinary sort of occupational illnesses or injuries, but these are, in fact, lifelong debilitating brain damage that was inflicted on them while they're performing. And unfortunately, I believe thousands of wrestlers are going to have long-term effects of head trauma from their work at the WWE. And this brain damage, according to my theory and the theories of this case, are a result of the overwork, the poor health and safety measures that were taken, poor training, poor ringside treatment, and a general failure by the WWE to adequately protect and warn about the dangers posed by head injuries. These are, of course, allegations that we're hoping to prove in the courts. But the real insidious thing about the brain injuries is that these are unseen injuries, and unless a wrestler actually loses consciousness while they're performing, they're sort of subjecting themselves to long-term cumulative effects of head trauma day in and day out, and the ultimate causes, can be irreparable damage to the brain.
Okay, well, so are you saying that the WWE should have done more to protect against all the head injuries with the athletes?
That's correct, Dobashi. That's an important part of the case. The lawsuits allege the WWE knew or should have known about the dangers of head injuries and failed to protect, the wrestlers from these types of injuries. I mean, wrestling of the type, that we see in the WWE and pro wrestling contains action that can cause long-term head injuries. So the WWE, according to our theory, had a duty to stage the matches and the performances in a safe way, but it also had a duty to warn wrestlers about the head injuries they were experiencing that could result in long-term disability. And these are not open and obvious injuries for the most part, in the sense that they are occupational injuries. You might analogize them or compare them to a worker who, for many years in his career, breathed in dangerous chemicals or is exposed to asbestos fibers, and then are diagnosed with cancer or some serious lung ailments many years after the event.
Oh, okay. So why are the head injuries such a big part of this lawsuit? Can you tell me that?
Yeah, well, I mean, head injuries obviously are extremely serious, and they can be crippling, disabling, silent killers that unfortunately force many wrestlers into early retirement and prematurely end their careers and their lives. At the less extreme end, you see symptoms where people are left without their memories or without the ability to perform basic life tasks. A lot of the people will end up, they express that they have these blinding headaches or other neurological type symptoms, in this continuum of memory loss and just inability to remember stuff and perform. On the more extreme end, there's a whole host of neurological issues that are related to long-term head injuries, which include varying degrees of depression, some severe depression. You see dementia. Unfortunately, you see some people with suicide, and unfortunately, you get people with total disability on the extreme end of things when they age, and more serious neurological diseases set in. So that's why big head injuries are a big part of the lawsuit, because of the seriousness, and they're sort of unseen and they're ongoing.
Okay, well, I mean, do you really think many wrestlers, such as myself, do you think we're all at risk for this?
I'll tell you, unfortunately, I do. I mean, I think that there is an epidemic in the community. I think there's a health crisis in retired wrestlers, who many of the guys who suffer in isolation, or in fact they're ignorant of the causes of some of these health issues, and I think it's a major issue for the community. And I've been investigating and talking to the guys, and actually female wrestlers also. But the issue is very serious, and I think there's a huge risk factor out there, and I think the exposure has resulted in these injuries. So I think it's a major problem.
Well, so are you saying that the WWE is responsible?
Yes. According to our theory of the case, the WWE is responsible. The WWE created the matches. It directed the performance of the moves, which result in these ongoing head injuries. Wrestlers aren't doctors, and they rely upon the WWE to conduct safe matches. And to the extent that the WWE is paying people to perform dangerous activity, it has a duty to warn them of the dangers of that activity, including the head trauma they're experiencing might or would likely result in long-term disability and impairment. So in that sense, the argument is that the WWE is responsible.
Okay. Well, how about all the other organizations? Why only the WWE? A lot of folks might take, excuse me, I'm like fumbling my words here, but let me re-ask that question again. What about the other organizations? Why only the WWE? A lot of people are asking, Yeah, well,
Dobashi, that's a good question, right? And I'll answer it a couple ways. Like, first of all, the WWE is the biggest pro wrestling organization.
Correct.
And so, we're alleging they were negligent. If other organizations were also negligent, it doesn't absolve the WWE of its liability or its duty. I had mentioned that there's other sorts of occupational, lawsuits and these types of things, and that the asbestos litigation, it's not completely a perfect analogy, but if a worker was exposed to asbestos in various places, ultimately when these cases were decided through settlement or through the courts, it was sort of determined that, look, everybody who created the negligent condition and exposed these workers should have to pay. So if ultimately this case goes to the courts and the courts side with us and there's some sort of settlement, the WWE agree. The WWE would it wouldn't be able to get out of this case by simply pointing to other bad people and wouldn't remove responsibility from them for their alleged misconduct. So the WWE can't really just defend the case and say other organizations also were wrong and we're completely off the hook. It wouldn't make sense. So and the reality is the WWE is the company where most of the negligence alleged is taking place.
Okay, so let me ask you this: what is the goal of all these cases? Like, how do you respond? Okay, how do you respond about a lot of people saying that you're just out there to make money? For an example, I got an email from Sammy Ridgway from El Paso, Texas, and he asked, all these former wrestlers and widows trying to get paid for what? How can you guys live with yourselves? I mean, how do you answer that?
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you, Dobashi. I mean, and Sammy, look, any time somebody brings a lawsuit, one of the main sort of criticisms as a plaintiff's lawyer that you get is people are looking, people bringing these cases are looking to make money. And I'll tell you, the strange thing is, and I've talked to thousands of clients, okay, or potential clients, in almost 20 years of representing people. I could tell you, money is not usually the main reason people file a lawsuit. And I know that many of your listeners may not buy it, okay, but most people sue because they are pissed off or angry, or they feel wronged, or they want to prove a point, or they have a sense of getting their day in court. And I think if your listeners and you stop and think about many of the disputes you've had in your own personal life, you know, whether it was an unfair charge to your bank statement that really energized you, maybe a difficult relationship or divorce, a dispute, you know, with a neighbor, or a dispute with your employer, money is not the prime factor in deciding whether you want to sue. And my job, actually, as a lawyer, is to sort of take these motivations and look at them as they relate to the legal system and the courts and see if there is, in fact, a way to pursue a claim. And unfortunately, many times there isn't. I've told thousands of people over the years they can't bring a lawsuit. They just want to file one regardless of the prospect of seeing any money.
So what about the money?
Well, in this, you know, in our civil justice system, and this is the civil justice system we have, and I'm not talking about the criminal courts, I'm talking about the civil justice system. Money is the measure of the harm or the wrong inflicted on somebody. So, you know, it's not a perfect system, but I think it works pretty good. When a jury hears that a company has done harm to people by making a drug that kills them or injures them or kills off their loved one, the way we handle this is we award the people compensatory damages, which is money. And this theory of compensatory damages says that the person should be put in the same place they would have been but for the negligent conduct. And what amount of money can replace somebody? It could be millions of dollars. And so when a jury makes that determination, they sort of are putting themselves in the shoes of the person who's been harmed, and they're trying to send a message with that money. So it's a more complicated equation than simply saying that people are going to have to make money. And certainly the insurance industry, or there's these other people that have criticized our civil justice system, but in everybody's lives, when you've been wronged or you felt that you've been a victim and you want to pursue justice, one way to do that and send a message is to sue for money. And, you know, that's the civil justice system we have. In terms of, I'm going to add to all your listeners that suing the WWE is not an easy way to make money. And this is a long and hard fight. And you know, if as a lawyer I was simply out to make money, there are plenty of other cases that I could bring, cases that have already been fought and won many times over, or, you know, case types that many lawyers make a good living on that I've handled and, you know, other lawyers and friends of mine handle. But, you know, if you think about an auto accident or, you know, going after an insurance company, so, you know, suing the WWE is not going to be an easy task simply to make money. And anyone who thinks that, you know, any of these wrestlers who are bringing these types of cases is simply out to make a quick buck is just, you know, just wrong.
Yeah, I hear you. You know, and I could actually tell you from my heart, you know, talking with you, you know, and not, you know, just on this conversation, I could actually, you know, like you said, there's a lot of lawyers, a lot of people trying to make, you know, try to get, you know, get rich, you make quick buck here and there out of nothing. And I could honestly say, just talking with you, I could honestly see you actually care about the wrestlers. And I see when you say about money, like WWE, I've noticed people try to go go after them in the past, but they just have a lot of money, and a lot of people just can't afford it. And I really I just want to say thanks for what you're doing for all the boys and girls out there, and you know, hopefully there'll be justice that comes out of all this. And that being said, you know, I do have some emails if you wouldn't mind answering, if I could.
Thanks, Dobashi, for that. And you know, we are taking these cases. That's how they come about. They're on a contingency fee. But I'm a certain believer in the justice of my cause, and I'm trying to help former wrestlers and you know, get them some compensation and see what we can do to help. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you have if you have some from your listeners.
Okay. Well, we do have some emails. We got, let's see here. I printed them out. Let me see here. Okay. Paul Vitch, and that's with the V, Paul Vitch from Hamburg, Germany asked, do you think the WWE are taking you serious? Because they seem to always get out of hot water. It seems like no one could touch them. Mr. Kyros, what is your goal with all you're doing?
Okay. All right. Well, I'd answer Paul from Hamburg, Germany. You said, is that right?
Yep.
All right. Well, look, I think the WWE is taking this seriously. It's very early in the life cycle of the lawsuits. And to give you, this is not anything, confidential or anything. The WWE's goal is to ask the courts to dismiss these cases. Although WWE sort of publicly stated that these cases are frivolous, they will have to frame their arguments along the lines of what the law is, and they will argue variously that too much time has passed, that the class of head injuries we believe thousands of wrestlers have isn't real or provable. They sort of downplayed those things in the media, and they'll ask the court to end the lawsuits on some of those grounds. My goal is obviously to convince the courts and the juries and the public that our clients have serious health problems that's been caused by the WWE's negligence. And I want to ask the courts and a jury to fashion remedies that would include setting up a plan that provides for compensation and long-term neurological health care for all former wrestlers. So that's, I hope that sort of answers this question.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. Okay, well, let's keep on rolling here. And it's the Ruby from Portland, Oregon asked, let's see, I know there isn't any wrestling unions or medicals for the athletes. That being said, Mr. Kyros, do you really think the wrestlers really have this owned to them? And if so, why? And thank you for putting up the fight.
Okay. All right. So I guess she's asking if they don't have a union and what's owed. Well,
Medical.
I mean, look, I think that the WWE owes them something, and my clients certainly feel the WWE owes them. But that's obviously not enough. I need to, at this point, prove to a jury in the court that the WWE owes a legal duty to them, and this is going to come down to its conduct in the head injury context, a lot of which I sort of outlined earlier. But to her point, many workers and most athletes in the United States have some sort of long-term health plan provided by their employer. And, unfortunately, not most wrestlers, right, because they're signed up to these independent deals, and, their health needs, ironically, are probably more urgent than most other sort of athletes and so forth, and I think it's just a very bad situation. And the alternative is to push these wrestlers aside and let the public health care system take care of them. And quite frankly, that's not a good option. The public health care system is probably poorly equipped enough, and it's poorly equipped to deal with the long-term neurological care, especially the type these folks need.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, here's another one. Frank Menke from Seattle, Washington asked, there has been many lawsuits in the past against Vince McMahon and the WWE. What makes this any different than any others, and what makes you think you could win?
Well, Frank from Seattle. Well, look, I've actually looked at some of the past lawsuits filed against WWE on various grounds. And most of those lawsuits have ended before what we call discovery, where there's a lot of documents and evidence that are brought into those cases. And most of the cases also settle before any meaningful rulings on the merits of the cases. And obviously the WWE is very aggressive in defending itself. So unless you're prepared, you're going to have a hard time making a viable case. And I can win a case against the WWE if people come forward with their stories and their circumstances and their injuries. And, if every wrestler who believed that they've been harmed by the WWE right now decided to file a lawsuit against the WWE, this would surely decide, I think, an outcome. For example, in the NFL cases, there were eventually thousands I think that we had 3,000, something like that, in the case. I didn't represent all of them, obviously, but all these lawyers all over the country, were able to pursue cases on behalf of the former football players, and these cases were filed. And this really kind of put the health issue and their issue in context and put it into the courts, but put it into the public mind and put it into a place where everybody could see that there was a real crisis. And I think this case, and I mean this case meaning the concussion case, or the case that really illustrates what we're talking about. This case will be won by the wrestling community if it chooses to act. I mean, this is sort of the historic moment where it can do that. The current state of the law, the culture, the public perception, the head injury crisis. I think it was ridiculed by the WWE as being as concussions being in vogue, but really there's an awareness of the head injury issue and the long-term health effects that have now being seen and everybody's very much aware of, and this has created very favorable conditions for a lawsuit like this to succeed. And I think obviously there's a huge amount of work to be done. But in the end, I want my clients' stories told and the public to see that they've been wronged. And in bringing these cases, I think we will win.
Yeah, awesome. Well, all you listeners out there around the world, universe, Mars, Jupiter, and the galaxy, hopefully we educated you on what's going on. And, I think you're a very good teacher, Mr. Kyros. Is there anything else you want to say and get out to each and every one of our listeners out there, since we're on the air right now?
No, I just, look, I want to thank you, Dobashi, for giving me the opportunity to reach out,
my pleasure,
to the community. Thank you, and anything I can do to, keep you and, your listeners updated on developments, answer any questions about the cases, give you updates. I'm happy to come on, and thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak directly to some of the people that may have some interest in this case.
Awesome. Well, matter of fact, we'll make this as the flagship, as the the official podcast of you letting the fans know and the people out there what's going on as the case goes.
All right, great, Dobashi. Appreciate it, and thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you, and have a good weekend, and we'll be talking soon. And right. You're welcome here anytime. Mi casa, su casa.
Very good. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Over and out. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. That's another show in the can. Be sure to subscribe to Dobashi's Radio Takedown on iTunes, or go to blogtalkradio.com, go to Dobashi's Radio Takedown and hit the follow button. That's a great way to support us. And you know what? You won't miss a single episode, and best of all, it's free. You can check out all of our other links at radiotakedown.com, and until next time, be safe and just be nice. Dobashi's Radio Takedown is a Say-So Dynamite Productions.